or what are,
and if you do a study, what does that usually look? To have someone come in here and give you a...
I'll just give you an example of a way I know that it's been done, is that maybe you take 3 of our board members and mix them with a section of that facilities committee, maybe a group of 9 or 10 or 12, and you authorize them to interview architects and recommend to the board an architect, and then that architect will give you a fee. That depends on architectural firm, and they'll take the proposal and draw up some kind of a schematic, at least a picture to look at, and they'll get some input from the necessary people involved, like coaches for a gymnasium and locker room size and things like that, and maybe your one act for the theater. They'll get some input, and they'll kind of come up with some kind of a schematic, bring that, hopefully the committee would then bring that back to the board, and then the board would, you know, there'd be a project cost on there. The architect would figure that out, and then the board would have to make a decision as to if they want to take that dollar amount and go forward with some kind of a bond election, or if they say, no, this is too much, can you cut something off? Say, no, this is not enough, can you add more to it? I mean, whatever. I mean, that's one Jana scenario. I mean, I think it's hard for people to make up their mind on a project without a visual. I think that's kind of difficult.
Do you feel budget-wise that you have the money to put towards this?
Yeah, I don't think it's that much. When we did it, we passed a bond at Southwest Schools in Barley, and I think the architect fee was to draw a schematic and do some groundwork preliminary was like $8,000. And anything beyond that, they said that if the bond passed, there might be some extra fees, but if the bond doesn't pass, we're not going to charge it anymore. The bondsman, like I used Emeritus before, and we've used Emeritus here for our QCAP projects. Jay Spearman, Mark Munford, Al Evelyn, they don't charge you nothing. They come in and they help you. They give you some estimates. I think I gave you a spreadsheet on the cost. And they'll do all that. They'll work towards the bond and not charge you anything. They get their take off when the bond passes. They get a percentage of the bond, and it's not even a large percentage. I know at Southwest, I like Emeritus and I'm prejudiced, but at Southwest we passed the merger and bond, and it got held up in court for 4 years. It was 4 years. In fact, I actually moved before they built it. And so Emeritus went 4 years without their money and never complained or anything. I mean, it was a great selling point. But so that's one scenario. I think knowing the background is helpful of how this got started. And originally it was, how do we replace the downtown gym? So we were really looking at a gym and 2 locker rooms. I think that's how it really got started, because it's difficult to take care of that place down there. It's away from us. It's a beautiful old building. It's structurally sound. I think if you read that report closely, it's a structurally sound building. But I think and some of you guys gals that were here when we talked about this 2.5 years ago, do you sink $1.5 million in something that's down there away from you? It's attached to a building that you don't own. It's got a physical attachment to a building you don't own, and just didn't feel like it was great. But I'd love to tear up that floor and put it in another gym, absolutely. It's a beautiful floor, and you don't get them to last like that, but I don't know how much life it has left. I think it is 56 years old, if the figures are accurate that I was told. And so I think 1955 it was built is what I've been told again, so I don't know that. I would have been not born yet.
I'm not sure how this works. I guess I thought the board was supposed to be completely neutral, and that's why you recused yourself from being part of that committee in the first place. So, but if you have half the board on that committee, it's really not neutral.
They're just interviewing an architect. I mean, the board's role is do we want to present this to the public or not? I mean, they're not cheerleading and drumming up votes.
I have no problem with that.
But I think the board does need to be a part of the interview of the architect. I mean, I guess if you don't want to be, that would be up to the board, but they're going to make a recommendation to the board. I would think that you'd want some of the board involved and stay less than a quorum so that you wouldn't have to advertise the meeting. But
I guess I have no problem bringing anything to the vote of the people. That's what we're all about here.
But I think that's still staying neutral. Just interviewing an architect to come up with a
that,
scheme.
That's fine.
Yeah. We disagree a lot, but we still get along. Yeah.
And Mark, are you willing, thinking, I guess, are you willing to stick with it? And
I think we've already had board members serving on the committee, Roger. I think we've had board members going to the committee meetings anyway, haven't we, Janet?
I kept my mouth shut, though.
But that's different than having three.
Yeah. Well, we don't have to do it that
I
way.
don't know.
I mean, we can do it any way you want to. Really do it any way you want to do it. To be honest with you.
Do we as a board though kind of need to decide if we are, if there's enough of us for it? Because I guess I keep thinking, you know, if there's enough of us against it, then, you know, you can put all this work to it, but then, you know, if you don't get the vote of the board, you're not gonna get it. Oh.
Well, my feeling, my personal feeling is I would be for it simply because whatever the people in Geneva want, that's what they should get. We're gonna vote. As long as we don't do the vote in the high school, because that's kind of prejudices the vote, and that's not fair. As long as we have it in a normal, to be above board. And so I guess you got my vote to bring it to the people. You can't go wrong with bringing it to the people. And I would be glad if you would stay on that committee. That's just my opinion. I mean, you guys all have your own opinion.
So it is okay for a board member to be on the committee.
Well, I'm thinking, you originally said 3 board members. I'm thinking, wow, that's not neutral.
I just threw out a number, Roger. I don't know that it had to be 3.
So did I. 1.
You know, yeah.
Throw out yours, I'll throw out mine.
Well, that's just the same as committee, so I don't see a problem with 3.